Things are heating up in the USL Championship, literally and figuratively this time of year. Figuratively, you've got two of the best teams in the league in Loudoun United welcoming Louisville City FC. Literally, the feels-like temperature reached triple digits today. Happy to have you with us this evening from Segra Field in Leesburg, Virginia, alongside Manchester United great Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. Gary, not much needs to be said here. Two of the top three teams in the East battling once again.
And fantastic games they've had against each other already. For Loudoun, it would just get them a little bit further away from North Carolina. If they got the win for Louisville City, it would give them some cushion ahead of Charleston Battery. So an important 3 points up for grab tonight.
You mentioned we've already seen it this year. We have 3 times to be exact. It's been a little bit of a quirk. They've met in regular season play, in Open Cup, in Jägermeister Cup. The home team has won each of the 3 previous meetings, 2 for Louisville, 1 for Loudoun.
The first one was Ray Serrano in the league win. This one, Adrian Perez pouncing on a error, and that was in the Open Cup match that Louisville City won 2-0. And then to the Jägermeister match you mentioned, this was the one which Loudoun won. Abakura with a good finish there, and ultimately they were 2-1 victors, were Loudoun United.
Obviously, at some point today, we'll be talking about Abakura at length, but he's not the only top striker in this game. Philip Goodrum on the other side for Louisville City. These two combining for 17 goals this season. Abakura with 10 of those, tied for second in the league. He has really, truly had his big breakout that I think a lot of fans have been waiting for the last couple of years.
A very special player, great talent, good striker of a ball is the first thing you pick up. That one there, just tucking it in off the post. But what he's also able to do is to run with the ball at pace, not with the flag in his hand, but with the ball at his feet, as you can see there. And he's so quick, and then still gets the finish as well.
We've seen it year over year now for Philip Goodrum consistently over the last few seasons, where it's been a breakout for Abakura, but it still feels like even he has taken it to another level this year, Goodrum.
He's quick, he gets behind back fours in that situation there against Birmingham Legion. He's brave, Taylor Davila just helping with the loose ball. And here's the first one, he beats both goalkeeper and defender. Then he's good with his head. He is an all-round striker.
Well, these teams have met 3 times already, a 4th time tonight. They won't meet again unless it's in the playoffs, and something's got to give tonight. Loudoun perfect still at home in 2025. Louisville have not lost back-to-back games since July of 2023. It's Loudoun United and Louisville City coming your way on ESPN+.
Meet Bob.
Did you sign up for your boating class?
Nah, I gotta learn how to swim first.
Meet Abasola.
New shoes?
They are a lifestyle.
They fell in love and now have a blended family.
You are a bad influence.
You're welcome.
Life isn't always easy when cultures collide.
Hey, Auntie.
But they can always count that Abasola loves Bob.
Everything's gonna be great.
And Bob hearts Abasola.
Weekdays at 7 on DCW 50.
This is business today. Fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. At Segra, we'll help you navigate a complex future with state-of-the-art voice, internet, and data protection solutions. We know you have dreams, and we see your potential. Segra, freedom to grow.
What kind of future do you want? You have something worth fighting for.
Failure is not an option. Anyone? Just a second, Bradley. Anyone?
On this field, winners are born.
Hold on to your butts.
I know who did it. I know why.
My thing's bigger.
Shut up.
Settle up, partner.
Here goes nothing.
Get your game on.
Thanks for coming after me.
We look forward to our very bright future.
Always had a good relationship off the field, these two head coaches, Ryan Martin of Loudoun United, Danny Cruz of Louisville City, but especially so this year, seeing each other already 4 times in the last 3 months. Take a look at the starting lineup tonight, brought to you by VSI, the ultimate choice for ultimate spine solutions, beginning with the home side.
2 changes to the side that lost at Hartford. In comes Drew Skundridge, and Ibi Hakim Karamoko, and out to the bench go Ben Mines and Riley Bidwan. Exciting to see this young kid Karamoko and what he can do as he comes up against the best defense in the East.
It's good to see Scudbridge back out there as well. Has missed some time due to injury. On the other side, a handful of changes for Louisville as well. Most notably, Mogel and Jones each making just their second start of the season.
Those are 2 of 5 changes that have been made. Besides Jones, Kevin Lambert comes in, Amadou Diaz, Sam Gleedle, and as you mentioned, Carlos Mogel. Out go Ordonez, Evan Davila, Manny Perez, Jansen Wilson, Ray Serrano. A chance to see Gleedle and Goodrum up front. Looking forward to that combination in attack.
Well, those guys you mentioned, Ordonez and Evan Davila, not available at all in this one. Nursing injuries. It is Louisville in the white from right to left, Loudoun in the red from left to right. Joshua Encarnacion has the whistle in hand, and away we go from Seger Field. Happy to have you with us this evening alongside Manchester United great Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. Here's your first look at Karamoko rising high above Kyle Adams. Kyle Adams, mind you, has been one of the best defenders in USL Championship the last couple of years in terms of aerial duels won. Karamoko coming in, making his first start for Loudoun on loan from DC United, was the number 10 overall pick in this past year's MLS draft.
Just picking up on that point, it is a good test for the young Karamoko up against best defense in the East and really, really good defenders in Sean Tosh and Kyle Adams. Pity for him that Arturo Ordonez is there, but he gets a chance to put some pressure on Josh Jones. And a difficult defense to break down. So we get a good sense of how good this 19-year-old kid, Hakim Karamoko, is.
Karamoko met up with Josh Jones in the college ranks 2 years ago when they were both in the ACC. Karamoko at NC State, Josh Jones at Louisville. A styles clash between these two teams this evening as well. It was a key point in our conversation with Danny Cruz. Louisville have been at their best this year and last year as well when they have less possession than the opponent, when they're below 50%. It's when that number has been elevated that they actually struggle coming into this one tonight against a Loudoun team who are the opposite, who want 55, 60% of the possession. So these two teams flow nicely together in how they approach the game.
I was quite stunned by that stat as that ball comes through to Damian Luss, that when they've been outpossessed by opponents, they've lost all 4 games. And yet, when they have less possession, it's 9-0-1. So Lou City, when they have too much possession, so when I said opposite, I mean they have too much possession, they lose every single game. And they did it again at North Carolina, 57% possession. It's just weird that it's almost black and white. When they have too much, they lose. I said to Danny Cruz, why don't just give the ball away?
Well, they've done so here inadvertently with the foul, but some spillover as Cole Turner gets up in the face of Mogel. Goodrum there as well. These two teams, again, meeting for a 4th time. Things are going to spill over. You're sick of seeing each other. You know you won't have to see each other again until at least probably November come playoff time. Let's get it done and dusted here tonight.
Philip Goodrum, besides being a very, very good finisher, is also extremely good at getting under the skin of players. Little shove in the back there, and he gets a shove back from Cole Turner, but it just does get under defenders' skins, and they've got to. It's difficult. It's easy to sit here and say don't react. Different story when you're in the heat of battle, but that is the bottom line that I'm sure Ryan Martin will have told his defenders. Just try not to direct back at Philip Goodrum, because that's what he wants you to do.
Played through for Florian Below. Flag stayed down. Below looking back post. Abukora waiting for it. Abukora lays it off. Awua had it blocked. First good look for Loudoun. It all comes through Below. That's really the key for Loudoun. All the attention goes to Abukora. Danny Cruz says it's finding Below. He is the man that makes this attack go. In the spaces he's able to put Abukora in. Abukora can also do this by himself on a solo run like that and win a corner.
Great feed from Abukura there, and to actually keep it in play was brilliant, because it looked like it had gone over the line. He just pulled it back and then got absolutely whacked and taken out. But brilliant set of feet he has, and just curious to see how Loudoun react from there, thumping by Hartford. They got absolutely torn to shreds in the last match. I'm sure Ryan Martin expecting a real good bounce back here today from the team in red.
IBEW Local 26 corner kick. Empower your future. It goes short. Arua. Abukora. Tommy McCabe clipping it back post. Learman heading it across frame. The ball was out of play. Look at an opportunity to refer back to that Hartford match, and we had a good conversation with Ryan Martin about that Hartford match last time out. That's not a misprint. The expected goals for Hartford were over 6 in that match. Gary, you and I have done games before that it's a pro side against an amateur side in Open Cup, and we haven't seen a number like that in those matches. It was the perfect storm. It's one that Ryan Martin called probably their worst performance in a year and a half, and that's going back to the old days of Loudoun when they were just that feeder team and didn't have much going for them in 2023. It was their worst day. It was Hartford's best day. That number, not a misprint in a game they'd like to forget.
Yeah, and Hartford sitting near the bottom of the table, which is what even made it more unbelievable to watch. But he did say, Ryan Martin, that they set some records, some club records that day of unforced errors, giveaways, turnover ball. He said, we did the stats afterwards, worst I've ever seen in my time at Loudoun. So, to your point, it was a terrible day for Loudoun. It was a fantastic day for Hartford. But just as a matter of interest, keep an eye on Hartford from now on. Because if you can put those XG numbers up, maybe they have a chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, not the kind of club record you want to set on a given night for Loudoun last time out. The one club record that's going for them right now is most home wins in a season, 7 in all competitions. So they're back home tonight, trying to get back on track. Here's Tingy. Below. Super small sample size here, 5 minutes in, but sort of going to form with Loudoun. Everyone's dictating in terms of the possession. Abukora. He's able to draw the free kick here, and this has been an area of concern for Lou City. And asking Danny Cruz what might hold this team back from reaching its goals this year, he said set-piece defending.
Look at the skills on this man. As he beats his play, he tries to roll it back and pull it around into the path there of Kwame Awua. It's great ball skills. Once again, he gets kicked to the ground. But it certainly has been corners. They've been very vulnerable at Lou City, but set pieces in general. And Danny Cruz will not be happy if another one goes in here.
Abukora does look near post. All the runners were going that way. Fortunate for Louisville, it didn't get through. A lot of traffic in front.
Just on your point about set pieces, both the goals scored by North Carolina in their recent 2-1 defeat came from corners. And any coach, that will drive any coach absolutely crazy, but especially Danny Cruz. Very high standards. Mind you, having said that, they also scored from a corner. So it's not possible to defend every set piece, but to give away 2 in a match, that's tough.
That game drove him crazy in more ways than one, mostly because he felt it was the first game this season where he felt his group was a little bit complacent, and something they've addressed internally, that to be a championship team, you don't always have to rely on external factors to drive you. Sometimes that drive has to come from within. He felt they let their guard down that night. This one's easy for Damian Loss to gather. And it was a difficult environment, not for the reasons you'd expect. Friday night, you're on the road in North Carolina. There's really nobody there in the stands. It was a very quiet crowd. But those are the days where you have to dig deep and motivate yourself and not rely on the crowd noise and other factors to get you up for the game. Felt they let their guard down, had a good response though this week in practice on a short week from that Friday, Wednesday turnaround.
And of course, it's very high standards at Lou City. That's the nature of being at a club like the boys in purple, and they do sit currently top of the table, so it's not like they're having a bad season. But Danny also knows, as last season shows, you can win all the accolades, you go into the playoffs, one bad game, or one indifferent game even, and that's it, your season's over.
Also ending up as the first time Louisville failed to make a conference final. Louisville trying to get back on track this year. A lot of the same core intact. Well, we've seen the success they've had. That loss to North Carolina was their first in the regular season here in 2025. Now Karamoko back to Skundrich. Skundrich across. McCabe feeding it wide. Abukora operates. McCabe give and go. Abukora slaloming through. Ryan keeps it alive for Awua. Abukora in a sea of white jerseys to Kwame Awua once again. Velo switching to Aua, and look where Velo's set up. We've seen him float around. That's something else that Danny Cruz pointed to. Velo, a player who can set up in about 4 or 5 different positions. You just have to keep track of him at all times because he could burn you with a ball that unlocks the back line from just about anywhere. Danny Cruz in charge of this team that had a 19-game regular season unbeaten streak snapped. Under Danny, they have hardly had mishaps after a loss. 24-9-3, the record following a loss under Danny Cruz. So in his time at the helm now, going back 4 years, they've only 9 instances lost back-to-back games.
It's very possible here today. We mentioned that they've met 3 times, have all been home victories. And what was it, 7 wins and 1 draw at home this season for Loudoun. So I think if you're looking at the odds, you're probably saying Loudoun are favourites to win this. And what we've seen so far, they're on the attack, they're creating chances, they've got New City on the back foot. If they keep this up, then I certainly fancy them to get something out of this game, and maybe all 3 points.
Kwame Aua. Cora, Skundrich. At the halfway point roughly of the season now. Kwame Aua has another stiff challenge put in by McFadden on Abukora. That's going to be a stern talking to from Joshua Encarnacion. Second time already that McFadden has come through like that on Abukora. That's probably what Encarnacion is saying here. Next one, no doubt a yellow from McFadden.
You would think so. And also insisting the player listen to McFadden was trying to walk away, said, no, let me finish what I've got to say. So good refereeing there from Joshua Encarnacion.
From another world come to Earth.
How long is a galactic year? 250 million years.
Or could aliens live among us already? The Big Bang Theory.
Weeknights at 6 on DCW 50.
Another set piece opportunity for Loudoun. They go short to Aua. Aua delivering. Just starting to say before that foul. Cora brought down by McFadden that through the halfway point. I think Kwame Aua is on a lot of people's short list in terms of first team or second team all-league left back. He's really been one of the unsung heroes for this Loudoun United side. A goal and an assist, so the numbers aren't gaudy. I'm certain around the league there are players in that position in this day and age of attacking-minded football where your outside backs are really attacking pieces, where maybe the stats are better, but he has been terrific so far this season for Loudoun.
He has. He gets up very, very high in the pitch. They're right on the edge of the box sometimes, and very clever player in terms of dribbling with the ball and crossing. So I say that the talent in this Loudoun United team has gone up a big notch from last year, which in itself was a rise from all the previous years where they were more of a feeder team for DC United. It's a proper side they've got here, and I think we're all considering that they're almost certain for the playoffs. The question is, how high will they finish?
Mogel sending it long from the set piece. Trouble for Hugo Peru. We're seeing some interesting bounces looking down on the field in warm-ups because a big thunderstorm had come through about an hour to an hour and a half before the teams came out on the field. Welcome, though, because before that thunderstorm came through, the heat index was at 103. It cooled off after that to 88. So still warm and still really difficult on this turf, the way the heat just emanates and reflects off. But could have been a lot worse had that thunderstorm not pushed through and cooled things off by about 15 degrees.
I'm sure the players are very pleased with that. And you mentioned the pitch, and we did ask Ryan Martin about his home form, the 7 wins and 1 draw from 8 games, and say, well, it's absolutely stunning. And he said, yeah, we obviously want to make it a fortress. Every club does, but the pitch itself is very difficult for opponents to come play on. Being a turf pitch, he said it's soft sometimes, and yes, the water affects it. And so it's a massive advantage for Ryan Martin, and he intends to make sure his team benefit from it in every game.
He said if they hold serve the rest of the year at home, just doing the quick math, that's already going to be enough to get them in the postseason. They've already given themselves that much of a cushion. Currently in the live table, 12 points clear of the playoff line. For a team that have played 7 of their home matches in the regular season. You saw their 7-0-1. That factors in non-regular season games. Some flicked on, Davila puts it wide. Out for a goal kick. So this math is spot on. If they take care of business at home the rest of the season, that already is going to put them at a point threshold that'll be enough to make the playoffs.
Good long throw coming in here from big Josh Jones. It's a nice little handy asset to have from a centre-back to put the ball in a dangerous area from a throw-in.
6th appearance this season, just his 2nd start. Josh Jones, really good career collegiately at the University of Louisville, so staying in town, switching his colors from red to purple. 2-time All-ACC defender with the Cardinals. 69 appearances, 11 goals to his name. He was a really key figure collegiately on set pieces in that big frame. So whether it's tossing those long throws himself or getting on the end of free kicks and corners, he's a threat in the attack. Question is, how will he hold up defensively tonight against this Loudoun side? Making his 2nd professional start, but gives him a certain dynamic on set pieces. Quarter of an hour gone, still scoreless. Game going to form thus far. Maybe too much so. Talked about how Louisville, not necessarily a team who seeks out possession. They're better without the ball at times. Not to this extent. Possession currently 88-12. A little too lopsided, I would say. Andy Cruz did say if we could get into the 45% range, that's where we're happy. Long way away from 45% right now.
It shows you how good Loudoun are at home. I mean, A, they're a good side, but B, at home they seem to be another level higher than almost anybody else they've played. Just speaking to Ryan Martin, we asked him, what are the keys to beating Lou City? He said, well, don't give the ball away under high pressure, because they pressurize you. Well, they haven't managed to pressurize, certainly not in the Loudoun half. They haven't anyway. Any place the pressuring is now, that's the sort of line of confrontation, and they're trying to win the ball, but they can't keep possession when they do get it, Lou City. So very domineering first 17 minutes, and it's not often you see Lou City struggle this much to get any type of possession.
And this is perhaps where all the changes you mentioned when we looked at the starting lineups, 5 it was for this Lou City side, to come into play, especially when 2 of those players in Josh Jones and Carlos Mogel are only making their 2nd start of the season. There is a lack of chemistry there. It's one thing to jump into small-sided, knock-around groups on the training ground, and they're still your teammates at the end of the day, but there's levels to chemistry, and if you're not playing games with these guys regularly, it starts to show in moments like this when you can't really keep the ball.
I think that's a very good point. And of course the quality of players that were playing, Jansen Wilson, Ray Serrano, Arturo Ordonez, these are quality players, so very difficult to replace them with the same quality. It's not a knock on Josh Jones or anyone. It's at a very, very high level of player that normally starts for Lou City, and I'm sure Josh Jones will get there in his own time.
Even Sam Gleadle, a veteran of this league, but this is only his 2nd start of the season as well. So a lot of guys out there tonight for Lou City that haven't really started much this year. The flip side of that is, as this game goes along, they can impact the game in a big way off the bench. All those guys you mentioned, Manny Perez, Ray Serrano, Jansen Wilson, available off the bench. Here's McFadden. McFadden looking long for Gleadle. Faru has it covered and gathers.
You just raised the topic now about the bench of the thing that separates these 2 teams. From my perspective and from both managers, as we see that ball way too close to the goalkeeper, easy catch for Faru. And that is, they can bring off so much talent off the bench, Lou City, and that's bearing in mind they have 5 or 6 top players out for various reasons. Whereas Loudoun, you start digging into their bench and you take into account injuries, it's a lot thinner, not able to bring off that same quality, and that's probably why in the long run they won't be able to be top of the table. But I still think they're going to finish maybe top 4 or 5, which in itself would be a great achievement for Ryan Martin.
Quick long throw from McFadden, good thinking there. Defended well. Cole Turner, had a good conversation with Ryan Martin about Cole Turner this week. Player who missed about 2 years of his career with 3 knee surgeries, and then in the preseason this year he sprained his MCL. They didn't know what they were going to get out of him or when he'd be able to take the field. Now all of a sudden emerging as a key regular starter for them. He and basically everybody else had a very poor game last time out against Hartford. But so long as that's a blip on the radar and not a trend for Loudoun, they're happy overall with their defending, and Cole Turner has quietly emerged as a pretty big reason why. Good pressure there from Karamoko, deflecting that ball from Kyle Adams. McCabe battling to win it. Mogel holds on. Fadden bends it around. One run for Goodrum to keep it in. He does. Goodrum gives it off. Mogel feeding it back post. Far off from Dia, who always sneaks up from that left back position. Has a couple of goals this season.
I think it was a shot, and if it was a shot, it wasn't his best. Doesn't quite catch it. Goodrum's got in just the edge of the box. I'm thinking keep going in the box, but he sets up for the shot, and in the end it's closer to a pass than it is to a shot. At least it's something for Lou City. They haven't had a lot to sort of talk about in terms of attack, so that'll please Danny Cruz.
See if it signals a shift in the balance of power in this game. So far, it's been one-sided. Picked up by Davila. Missing his brother next to him in the midfield in this one tonight. Faru had that scouted. They're ahead of Goodrum. Evan Davila is somebody who really stepped up alongside Taylor Davila after Zach Duncan went down with a season-ending injury. Missing Evan Davila with injury tonight as well, so Lambert and Mogel stepping in alongside Taylor Davila. Little combinations that we've recently been used to seeing in there. Key components of the field where we're looking for those relationships to be intact, to be in sync. That's why they have 19% of the ball so far through 22 minutes. Skundrich just waiting in the middle, pocket of space there. They can get out of that corner, Loudoun. Instead, Tosh flicks it away. Flicked further along by Lambert. Out of play.
That's the problem for Lou City is when they do get the ball, it's a big high one out from Tosh, and then Lambert heads it on and it goes out of play, and it's back in the team in red, and it's just incessant pressure, which early on it's one thing, but you can't, well, I wouldn't have thought you're going to survive 90 minutes with that level of pressure. You know, with what, 20%, it's highly unlikely. So you do expect Lou City will have to come out and do a little bit more in terms of possessing the ball and controlling the game.
Turner across to Skundrich. 29-year-old midfielder in his second year with Loudoun. McCabe. Space for Abukora. McCabe there to support. Velo turning. Velo. Again, he just sneaks into these positions, Velo. Lulls you to sleep. Earlier in the game, remember, he was really deep and reserved down this right side. Now he's popping up on the left side of the field in the box.
But that's the problem. He's getting in the box. He's turning and getting a shot in the box, which you've got to be a little bit tighter than that if you're Lou City. Abukura's threatened a couple of times in the box, and eventually one of them is going to go flying in, you would think. So far, Damon Nass hasn't been tested too much.
Loudoun start to get healthier. When you see a lineup put forth like this, you see why they've had success this year and why they can continue to have a lot of success. Often we talk about the spine of a team. They're starting to get good play out of the pairing of Turner and Learman at center back. Skundrich and McCabe, that's one of the better defensive midfield duos probably around the league, and then Velo with them in the mix there. This is a team that is built for success in the long term this season. They have the guys in the key positions you look for. Davila to the end line. Davila floating it back post. Mistimed jump.
That's better from Lou City. Classy play there. Of course, whenever Taylor Davila gets the ball, he has this ability. One of the best midfielders in the USL. Even there, he just dinks it up. He knows exactly where he wants to put it. Just goes over Sam Gleedle's head. That's much better play from the boys in purple.
Threat still on. Long throw coming again from Josh Jones. Gets it toward the end line, flicked centrally by a defender, headed toward goal, and in! Cleaning up the scraps, Carlos Mogel putting Louisville on top.
And that all comes from that long throw from Josh Jones. It causes all sorts of problems. It forces Hugo Faru to have to come out and punch. He doesn't punch it clear enough. Have a look here, long ball in, and it's headed on. Keeper comes out and he's stretching, so he can't get a punch. He just gets a hand in it and it drops perfectly to Carlos Mogel. The goalkeeper's out of place. He's simply got to head it on target and score. That's where the value of that long throw comes in. And Lou City, after all the pressure they've taken, they're 1-0 up.
Such an unlikely source as well. Mogel in his 60th professional appearance in all competitions, his first career goal, just turned 22 years of age 4 days ago.
I think in the end it was one of the Loudoun United players who headed it back into the danger
below.
area.
He seemed concerned. This one played to the back post now toward Abukora. It seemed Below was concerned with the two Louisville players there at the end line, and he felt the need to get his own head on it, but that's what put it in the end in a dangerous position.
If you're going to get a head on it, head it out for a corner. Don't head it back into play. So the moment that happened, Hugo Ferrou had to come off his line. He couldn't get the punch. You only get fingertips to it, and it drops perfectly for Carlos Mogel, open net. And that's the strength of Lou City. They're powerful in set pieces, they're powerful in midfield, they defend well, and they just seem to grab opportunities. One of the best attacks in the East. Second best. There you go. Yeah, you're right, it is. A header from the team in red that puts it right back in that danger area. And then once the goalkeeper's off his line, there's no one there to protect the net.
Over by Loudoun. Karamoko in some space here. Shoots down by Adams. Karamoko lays it off, scuffed.
Good chance there for Loudoun. Miss-hit shot. I think that was Zach Ryan. Hits it off to some really good work there by Karamoko.
Thought coming into the day was that Karamoko would be more the tip of the spear in this attack, and Ryan would float to the right side, where we've seen him a lot this year, doing a lot of the dirty work. So far, it's been Karamoko out on the right side and Ryan up top. They have an ability to interchange as the day goes along with those skill sets as they continue to get more comfortable with each other. Again, this is Karamoko's first start for Loudoun, fourth appearance overall. Going from Aua. Comes, glances it on, and it'll stay in for Damian Las.
And there's something about this Loudoun team. In the last 8 games, they've conceded first in 7 of them. And it's not like they haven't been on the front foot. It's not like they haven't had chances. You've got to say they're probably a little bit unlucky to be 1-0 down. But that's a stat that starts to get worrying after a while. But you're always having to come back from being behind.
They do respond well, though, typically. In the last 2 games that happened, they went down. All of these games have come at home that we're referencing here. It was Charleston. They went down 1-0 at home. They tied 1-1. This one floated in again over the head of Goodrum. Then it was Detroit City. They went down 1-0 and won it 3-2. So putting that Hartford debacle aside from last week, last couple times they've conceded first. They've actually come back against good teams to get the result. There's Ryan, puts his head down, goes for a goal, saved by Las, who was sputtering to get out to it. He might have been going wide. He wasn't taking that chance, especially after he had slipped. But another corner coming now for Loudoun.
Wasn't the most difficult shot until the goalkeeper slipped, of course, and then poor Damian Las was struggling. Sort of bounces a few times there, and the goalkeeper scrambles across. Expect to see more of this. Not the best shot from Zach Ryan. I'm sure he can hit it a lot from that, but expect to see
toward the back post, flicked away by Tosh. Will trickle out for another Loudoun corner. It's a test for Louisville. Again, they've struggled mightily defending set pieces, particularly corners, more so than free kicks. Dealing with a couple back-to-back. It's the Loudoun side that just fell behind, looking to respond. Mogel, the 25th minute officially. On Louisville's first shot on target of the match, only one so far. We've only had 23% of the possession. Hallmark of a good team, though, find a way. Louisville so far finding a way. IBEW local 26 corner. Below overshoots everybody. Kept alive on the backside. And back to Awua. Half an hour in. Awua delivering. Away by Goodrum. Back in from McCabe. Settled by Below. Bakura on this near side after that set piece. Head through, Karamoko goes down. Penalty. Hakeem Karamoko in his first start for Loudoun. It's paying dividends. The 19-year-old striker felt the contact, went down. Chance to level from the spot.
And it looked like a fair decision. Karamoko with the speed to turn. Lambert just gets in the way. I don't think he put out a leg. I just think he was in the way. Yeah, there was a little bit of a left foot that comes in. It's enough. But that's the skill and pace of that young man.
Wonder who steps up to this now for Loudoun. Somebody who they look at internally as their guy on penalties, or if it's just simply Abukora, who has the ball in hand. Awua there in the box as well, but seemingly just acting as bodyguard. It will be Abukora. 10 goals on the season. The record for a player aged 21 or younger in USL Championship in a given season is a dozen. He is 2 goals off tying that mark with 5 other players. Louisville took the lead in the 25th minute. Just 7 minutes later, deep breath from Abukora against Damian Las. Abukora has 11 on the season, and there's no saving that one.
Absolutely brilliant. Finished minutes right up towards the top corner with pace as well. If you can put it right there in that top part of the goal and you hit it hard, there's no chance, as you say, no chance Damian Las gets it. It's the perfect penalty. Here it is again. Just he feels that Kevin Lambert's getting a little bit too close, turns him, wins the pen. And have a look at this for a classic, brilliant penalty. That pace alone makes it extremely difficult. Plus, you can see Damian Las dives low, which is, as a keeper, is what you do. The ball's going high. That's in the back of the net 10 times out of 10.
There's no goalkeeper in the world saving that, except for maybe Gary Bailey about 40 years ago.
No, I wouldn't have got close. I would have dived the other way, probably.
That goal presented by Hanley Energy management for a digital age. Danny Cruz did pick up a yellow card in the aftermath of that goal as well. Yellow card brought to you by Continental Cards. Elevate your collection. I wonder if did he have an issue with the call? Again, he doesn't have the benefit of replay that we have. To us, it seemed pretty clear. Did it look like Karamoko threw the arms back and tried to make a meal of it? Yes. But was the contact also there? Yes. It seemed, I think, that it was a clear-cut penalty to both of us, at least.
Yeah. I think he turned into the contact. That's the brilliance of the moment. He saw Kevin Lambert or felt him coming behind. He's flicked the ball on and turned into Kevin Lambert, who can't get out the way. And he put his left foot out at the time. So, yeah, it's a difficult one not to give a penalty, but I think coaches react no matter what happens as part of the frustrations or the energy of coaches on the touchline, isn't it? They react on behalf of their side no matter what the decision is. As long as it's against them, they're going to be upset.
Meet Abishola. Life isn't always easy when cultures collide.
Hey, Auntie.
But they can always count that Abishola loves Bob, and Bob hearts Abishola.
Weekdays at 7 on DCW 50.
Goal took us into our first half hydration break. Brand new ball game here, 1-1 between Loudoun and Louisville. Goals came 7 minutes apart. Mogel in the 25th, Abukora in the 32nd. 11 on the season for Abukora. So we are officially on record watch now tonight. His next goal ties him for the most single-season goals for a player under 21 in USL Championship history. 5 other players have reached a dozen. Nobody's been beyond. I would be pretty stunned at this point if Abukora doesn't end up beyond 12 this season, but I guess stranger things have happened. 11 at the halfway point. Not even quite the halfway point. 11 already for number 11 in red. You know what's going to happen now, right? It's something, whether he hits a slump or he gets sold, whatever the case is, he's not going to get beyond 12, and it's going to be all my fault for pointing it out and jinxing it.
Look, it would take something serious for him not to get to that level. I do agree with you.
Gunfridge. On that note of being sold, this seems like the last dance in USL Championship for Abukora. It's something that Ryan Martin has talked about publicly. It's been reported on publicly that there are teams in Europe who are starting to knock on that door a bit more ferociously now. I think the hope for Loudoun and the intent for Loudoun and the player would be something similar to what we saw last year with Nick Marcanic, who gets sold on to Spain, but he was loaned back to Charleston technically and never left the group, played the whole season with the group, and then went on in the winter. That would be the hope for this man here. Abukora cutting in. Delivering, flicked away by Jones. Karamoko. Karamoko, end line, cuts it back, still with it. Lost it in the end. And a foul against Karamoko. He is a really top-class player that they have a lot of high hopes for DC United. Now, the relationship still exists there between DC United and Loudoun United. So it's a perfect situation here for Karamoko to get minutes. He's not, barring injury, dethroning Christian Benteke, who's going to be in that spot for DC United. But so far this year, Karamoko's had a chance to learn under Benteke. A lot of high hopes for him. Top 10 pick in the most recent MLS draft after a great season last year in his last collegiate season. Realized it was the time to go pro. Now here with Loudoun getting minutes, Ryan Martin very excited about what those combinations could look like up top. Between Ryan, Karamoko, Abukora, Velo. First look at it tonight with Karamoko winning a penalty that Abukora converted.
There's one thing you can say about Karamoko, he's quick over 3-4 yards. Very, very quick, and that's what won him the penalty, the quick turn. I want to see more of him here, and if you get too close to him, I think he could be past you before you even know it.
The biggest compliment that Ryan Martin paid to Karamoko in conversations with other coaching colleagues from the college ranks, he went and asked those colleagues about the makeup mentally of Karamoko before they decided to bring him in on loan from DC United. He wanted to know, does he really want to be a pro, or is it just physical attributes? And the answer is he is driven as can be, because you don't want to bring a player like this on loan who's going to mope about that he's not with the MLS team anymore. He's here to work, he's been working, rewarded with the start tonight. They see him as a regular starter going forward, and already paying dividends. Flicked on now by Lambert. Ryan trying to race away, chased by Jones. Abukora. Pulled from McFadden, watch that. Already a couple of fouls from McFadden on Abukora. He does another one of any sort of level. That's going to be a yellow. Karamoko cutting in. Left-footed player goes down. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Brings him a different dynamic as a left-footed option up top. Toledo racing ahead. Goodrum darting toward the penalty spot as well. Toledo looking back post. Wise of Farouk to pull his hand out of the way. Out for a goal kick.
Quite sure what Lidl was trying to do there, whether that, I mean, I'm assuming it's a cross, but does he miss Philip Goodrum by a fair distance? He does. Not the best of crosses from Sam Lidl, and it'll take time, I assume, for the two of them up front to sort of get a read on where they run, what direction, a bit of an understanding. And that one there was a good opportunity, just which went on the same wavelength, I think is the easiest way to describe that.
7 goals on the season. Approaching a year since his acquisition here in Louisville from Tulsa. Goes against Amadou D. I had a good conversation with Danny Cruz about the acquisition of Philip Goodrum, and he actually said it was more with an eye toward this year than it was for helping the team last year. They had a sense that Wilson Harris would be sold and move on to Europe as he did, and they wanted to make sure they had somebody behind him. They actually had a conversation with Wilson Harris before they brought Goodrum in, just so they let their striker know, hey, this isn't about you, this is not an indictment on you. You don't need to be looking over your shoulder. This is because we know you're probably going to be sold because of how good you're playing. So it was a help last year for Louisville, having that 1-2 punch at striker, but knowing that there would be a life after Wilson Harris and it would revolve around Philip Goodrum. His 7 goals now this season, it's paid off.
Danny Cruz said to us, he's always thinking 6 months, a year in advance. He's got to be, because players do move on, they move around, they get injured, all sorts of things happen. And as a coach, you've got to be making assumptions. If this player goes, who do I have? And who can I look at now to purchase either now or in the future? So when those players become available, you know who you want, you know how much you're prepared to pay for them.
Got a soft spot coming up in their schedule as well. They only have 2 regular season games coming up in July. As Tosh steps in, commits the foul, and is shown a yellow. And in that stretch, Danny Cruz said they will be looking to see if they can add players further up the field to help out Philip Goodrum.
First foul I've seen from Tosh, it's been the likes of McFadden who's been doing all the fouling. He does one thing, Tosh, and he's in the book.
Yellow brought to you by Continental Cards. Elevate your collection. First yellow to a player in this one. Danny Cruz picked up the other. Bora stands over it again. His goal on the penalty in the 32nd minute tied things. Good response once again from Loudoun, who have, as you pointed out, made it a habit of conceding first, but they've also made it a habit of responding well. Abukora delivering, flicked away by Jones, brought down by Velo. Good effort sliding out by Goodrum to block it.
That's where Philip Goodrum is so good. He's a fantastic first line of defense, besides being a very good goal scorer as well.
Followed this same script the whole time. Possession heavily slanted Loudoun's way. It's 79-21. Louisville have picked their moments the other way in transition. We figured coming in, it'd be Loudoun dominating possession, but we didn't quite expect to this extent. We figured somewhere in the realm of 55 to 60% of it. They're near 80% of it, and another free kick on the way.
So sure the ball wasn't already lost there. Have a look here, back heel, and not quite sure where he is, Drew Skundridge. But he does get to the ball first, and there's maybe a little bit of contact after that, and that's probably what the ref has blown for.
That's a final warning for Danny Cruz, already on a yellow.
It must be frustrating for Danny Cruz, because his team is not just being pushed back, they're being completely dominated almost in every phase. And to be fair, they've had one half chance and taken it. Whereas on the other side, Loudoun have been knocking at the door with shots and efforts into the box. And I don't think it's often that I've seen Lou City struggle this much in a game.
Below runs over it. Cabe, a woo up. Now it's Velo who snuck out that way. Velo looking back post. That was off the training ground and a good one for Loudoun. Didn't quite come off that ball from Velo. Goodrum ran right into Abukora. He was looking for that contact.
It's brilliant. he knew his team had been under pressure. He wanted to slow it all down, and he waited for the contact, took it, won the free kick, and that allows the whole team to push up. Just look how he does it. There, he just waits, he knocks it, and then just stands in the way.
Clever play from Philip Goodrum.
Yeah, it's the sort of player that you need, and Danny Cruz was very excited when he got him last year, because he knows he's a niggly player, but he's a win-at-all-cost type of player. And as much as that can be frustrating, you'd rather have him on your team than against him.
Especially considering the two teams he was on previously. Memphis and Tulsa had been thorns in the side of Louisville the last couple of years, so he knew all too well what Philip Goodrum could do. Think back to some of the really heated rivalry games between Louisville and Memphis back when Ben Pierman was still in charge of that Memphis side and Goodrum was scoring at will against Louisville. Now he's on your team and you don't got to worry about it. Final minute of this first half. Awaiting word on stoppage, which again could be a couple of minutes. Hydration break in effect here in this first half. Officially told it'll be 3 minutes tacked on. Temperature has cooled, yet to be seen if we'll need that Hydration break in the second half, but it was still right around a 90-degree feels-like temperature in this first half. Karamoko brought down. It's been a magnet for fouls, and it's another free kick coming. Amadou Dia standing right over him. Karamoko not shying away.
Dia did have a little bit of afters there. He should have walked away, Dia. Now it's all taking off. Everyone's bumping heads. It all started when Karamoko was on the ground. Dia, instead of walking away, just continued after it had stopped. And I think that's what sparked this. Although I think Karamoko must also learn to walk away from these things. He's always going to be a target for defenders. You don't want to keep reacting every single time. He's a big boy, though. I think he fancies himself in a fight. Look at the size of him.
He's got a little Phil Goodrum in him, though, being able to get under the skin of the opponents.
But have a look at Amadou Dia. So as he goes down here, Amadou Dia goes in for the ball and then keeps on. There you go. That's a little kick afterwards. And that is out of order. So Amadou Dia, for me, should not have continued. And then I think somebody cracked someone with a head blow as well. So
Giannis Learman, while we were showing you that replay, was sent to an early shower, it appears.
So he was the one who had the headbutt then.
He was the one who came back. Assistant referee spotted it. Let Joshua Encarnacion know. We're sorting out the yellows. A couple were shown in that mix there of the yellows, but the lone red belongs to Giannis Learman. So that all started with Karamoko being fouled, and from there, it escalating to his teammate getting a red card. That's not what you're hoping for if you're Ryan Martin looking on. You just won the free kick. You have an opportunity now on the free kick, and one of your own players who came in afterwards is the one sent off. Senseless from Giannis Learman.
Agree with you. I think Amadou Dia then was the one who got the yellow card for what we pointed out was a continuation of kicking at the ball long after the whistle had gone.
Roll out the free kick for Loudoun. Still waiting for the okay from the referee to get the free kick into play. Well, the good thing for Loudoun, if there is a silver lining in all of this, is it's about to be halftime and you can reshuffle the deck, figure out what you'll do tactically. Abukora from the free kick. Below tried to sneak it near post. The second yellow card that was in the mix there was to Karamoko. So it was Karamoko and Dia, the two who started that whole thing, who picked up yellows, and it was the red to Learman that then put things over the edge and tipped the scales in Louisville's favor. And remember the number 80. Taking a look at the live stats, 80% possession belonged to Loudoun at the point of the red card. Just keep that in mind to see how it maybe shifts now the rest of this game as they go down a man.
If you go back to that incident and look at Karamoko, he was on the ground, he was kicked a little bit unnecessarily by Amadou Dia. If you just hold your ankle and roll over or do whatever, you get the player booked, you get the free kick and you move on. But because he jumps up and he then confronts Dia, not only does he get himself a yellow card, but then Giannis Learman feels he has to come in and help him out, and then he gets a red card for a headbutt. I think it was a headbutt. So back to Karamoko. He needs to learn those skills of attackers. Just lie on the ground, writhe around, get the yellow card, get the defender booked, and move on. Job done.
Ryan Martin won't be pleased at halftime. At home against one of the teams that you're chasing in the standings, and also just in general, one of the standard bearers of this league year in, year out. Loudoun now in their own right, one of the top teams in the East this year. You're 1-1, you're dominating play, and you lose your cool. I would almost understand it as McFadden ends up once again in the thick of things here.
You gave him the fingers there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think you're right. Anything now that McFadden does is going to earn him a yellow card.
Back to that point, you could almost understand that as the whistle goes here to end this first half. You could almost understand that if it were Karamoko, because he was in the initial challenge. But why is Giannis Learman coming over in that moment? That's probably what will drive Ryan Martin the most mad once he gets to the locker room here.
And also what you do when you come into it. It looked like he dropped his head on some headbutt to the player right in front of the assistant ref when he didn't need to get involved. So So, yeah, some reorganization for Loudoun to do after what's been a very, very good first half by the home side.
Two of the top teams in the league battling it out here at Segra Field. A goal each side for the first 45 minutes. But what could ultimately tip the scales right before halftime, a red card to Giannis Learman. It's 1-1 on the scoreboard going into the break, but it's 11-10 in terms of the bodies on the field for Louisville. More to come from Leesburg.
Will beings from another world come to Earth?
Turn left at Alpha Centauri. You can't miss it.
Watch for signs of hyperintelligence.
How long is a galactic year? 250 million years.
A love for rocketry.
I remember them going up higher.
And the capability to destroy humanity. Or could aliens live among us already? You decide on the Big Bang Theory.
Weeknights at 6 on DCW 50.
This is business today. Fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. At Segra, we'll help you navigate a complex future with state-of-the-art voice, internet, and data protection solutions. We know you have dreams, and we see your potential. Segra, freedom to grow.
DC News Now is on Roku. Early morning, ready, set, Roku. Afternoon, Roke Us. Evening, overnight, whenever you want, Roke it on Roku. Need your weather? We've got that. Want to see what the community's up to? We've got that too. Looking for ways to stretch your dollar? Roke your savings. Newscasts, features, weather, sports, living local DMV, and custom content just for you on Roku. Search DC News Now today and let's Roku and roll.
You have the power to save. Take charge of your energy bill with these tips from Novec. Adjust your ceiling fans to rotate counterclockwise for warmer weather. Novec also recommends installing a programmable thermostat to avoid cooling your home when you're away. Set your water heater to 120 degrees. Novec is helping members save energy, which means saving money. Harness your savings power. Find more tips and tools at novec.com/save.
Welcome into the halftime show brought to you by Van Meter. It's 1-1 between Loudoun and Louisville, but the biggest change in the equation came with the Giannis Learman red card in stoppage time. That'll impact things as we go forward in the second half. And as we go forward in terms of the schedule, it's an interesting stretch coming up for Loudoun. They've got the Jägermeister Cup to contend with on the weekend. And then they have a little bit of a diet of unfamiliar opponents. Two of the next three are Western Conference teams in Orange County and Oakland, but they do get them both at home.
Yeah, difficult matches as always when you're playing teams from the West. Oakland Roots with a new coach. North Carolina playing really well at the moment. And Pittsburgh always a battle against Bob Lilly and his team there. So yeah, some tough matches, but every match is tough in the USL these days.
On the other side for Lou City, this is really interesting because we show you their next 5 games. Look at the bottom there. 8-2. We're already into August. They have an interesting break in their schedule coming up. It's Jägermeister Cup this weekend. They only have 2 regular season games in the entire month of July, and then back on August 2nd. So they've got a nice little break to gather themselves here before the stretch run.
And it's North Carolina again for Lou City, having just lost to them 2-1. They play them twice in the next sort of 5 or 6 weeks. Lexington, they're on the up and up, and FC Tulsa played really well. So once again, no easy matches coming around in the USL.
We'll see what these next 45 look like. Loudoun 1, Louisville 1. More to come from Segra Field.
Wait, come back! Wait, come back, I need more help.
Take a load off Take a load for free.
Today we went to the beach, and it was totally worth it. Stay 3 nights this summer at Best Western and get $50 off a future stay.
Here it comes again. It's scored!
Water directly from the natural spring to fuel every body, no matter how you like to move it. So whether you're chasing your goals or just staying active this summer, make sure to stay hydrated with Crystal Geyser Alpine Spring Water. always bottled at the natural spring source.
Pain doesn't care who you are or why you hurt, but pain can be mastered if you know the way.
Focus!
Fight back with Tiger Balm's legendary herbal power.
Whatever it takes.
Trusted for over 100 years. Tiger Balm's proven herbal blend tames pain with the strength and speed of the tiger so that you can rise above pain.
Let's make a Karate Kid.
And get back to living. This is the way of the tiger.
Who want that smoke? You want that smoke? Look, I ain't playing, I'm saying this ain't a joke. There ain't no bluffing, I'm calling you out for show. It's either all in or nothing, I go for broke. Who want that smoke?
DC News Now, bigger and only getting better.
Join us as we welcome Susan Tran to the DC News Now team.
Decades of journalism experience, a steadfast commitment to community, and an energy we can't wait for.
Susan Tran joins DC News Now, super serving the DMV with Susan Tran at the anchor desk.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on DC News Now.
Welcome back into the Van Meter halftime show, 1-1 between Loudoun and Lou City. We'll step away from this one for a moment. Take a broader look around the USL Championship with some news and notes. That streak came to an end last week for Lou City. 19 games unbeaten in the regular season before it came tumbling down. With some new additions to the league. This is the time of the year, Gary, where teams like Birmingham and Orange County are starting to bolster the roster for the stretch run.
They need to, and both of them are on the edge of the playoffs, and they're two clubs who we normally expect to get into the playoffs. New coach at Birmingham Legion as well, so they want to do well. They want to find these key players, as you say, can just sort of spark their season into success.
A couple of big signings this week for Charleston Battery as well. Well, Mike Watts and Devin Kerr have you covered every week on USL All Access. Take a listen to what they have coming up this week, as well as some of the goals and saves of the past week in USL.
They say it's a radio show, so why are we on TV? That's a good question. We've got a lot of them for Sean McCauley. The Indy 11 head coach joins us this week.
Feel like he's got some ideas that are going to help revolutionize the Indy 11 and what the championship looks like moving forward from a recruiting standpoint. North Carolina FC ends Louisville's historic unbeaten run to start the season. What does it mean overall?
We chat about all that and more. USL All Access Tuesday night.
Here's Mamadou, sends it across. Shot blocked. Gabadian gathers the rebound and sends it wide.
Can Smith deliver? Hamid with the stop.
About a minute ago.
And driven in short. It's loose. What a stop made again by Herrera. And he collects it. Bass goes down. Leon says the official saved once again from Sen. Another turnover. Romero, right hand side, gets it back to Chip. He scores! It is going to be Rodo Lopez. Oh, it's spectacular. Out wide, it's Smith. Back in front, slipping through, level at one. Abiebu gives it up, now racing ahead again. Booted, toward goal!
That is a lot to choose from this week. I'm not sure which one's going to take the cake. Here's a look at the standings in the Eastern Conference coming into the day. This is not a live look here. This is coming into the day, so not reflecting the point that Lou City and Loudoun would both have already tonight. Important to note, the tiebreaker is head-to-head, which is why Lou City is above Charleston, but it's going to be a two-horse race, it seems like, between these two teams the rest of the way.
You would think so. I mean, they're two fantastic teams, Lou City and Charleston Battery. Excited for the race below it, though. Loudoun, North Carolina look good. Detroit City have struggled recently. Miami FC, they're having a good season. And then don't write off Indy 11, Birmingham, and even Hartford now after that XG of 6.4.
It's so interesting. It's 11 points between first and fifth here in the East. It's 11 points between first and 12th in the wild, wild West. We'll have a second half to settle things between Loudoun and Louisville coming your way. Van Meter halftime show comes to an end.
DC News Now the only station focusing on the entire DMV. Reporters in 5 locations throughout the region. A look at weather with a regional approach, so you always know what's ahead. And an unmatched commitment to local news. More community, more breaking news, and more weather coverage for everyone in the DMV. Join Chris Flanagan, Susan Tran, and Janessa Webb. Watch DC News Now tonight at 10 on DCW 50.
Come see what's trending on Karamo. He has deleted 1,938 texts in the last 30 days.
Unlock that phone for me. What's in there that you cannot show me?
See what's taking over everybody's feed.
You did try to gaslight her. You did try to mislead her. You did try to manipulate her. I don't even worry about that at all. This is a lot of chaos from the beginning.
A lot. All season on Karamo.
Weekdays at 3 on DCW 50.
From down below to way up high, there's fun in every layer of Luray Caverns. What will you discover? At Luray Caverns, there's only one thing more timeless than the formations.
Grandma, check this out.
The memories. What will you discover?
Kids say enough waiting around. Let's get things going in half number 2, and we are just about set to do so. 1-1 between Loudoun and Louisville. Take a look at how it all happened in the first 45.
That was a long throw here from Lou City, and it gets knocked back into the danger area. Goalkeeper Farouk can only knock it on, and Carlos Miguel says, thank you very much, empty net, I'll head this one home. It's exactly what he does to give Lou City an early, if not necessarily deserved lead.
It was Below again who kept it in at the end line there, so just disastrous defending from Loudoun, but they would get it back. Below would find Karamoko, brought down, and then Abu Kora would do the rest.
Karamoko brilliant. He saw Kevin Lambert getting very close to him. He just turned him, wins the penalty, and what a penalty it was from Abu Kora. Absolutely whacks it towards the top corner. Damien Last, no chance.
It's terrific. There's no keeper in the world saving that. There are few in the world who could confidently take a penalty like that. But this is where things got away from Loudoun. It started with Dia and Karamoko coming together at the end of the play, but it's Giannis Learman who ends up with the red card. You'll see him come into your frame momentarily right there. The headbutt on Kyle Adams, picked up by the assistant referee. He's sent off. The yellow cards were given to Dia and Karamoko, but the red to Learman. So as we're ready to begin this second half, it is with Loudoun down a man.
Yeah, a little bit of an experience there from Loudoun falling for it. But have a look early on. The stats are good. Certainly shots, 73, just 2-1 on target. 80% possession and 14 touches to 7 in the opposition box. So Loudoun dominating all the data and should be further ahead. But even 1-1 with 11 players each, you would fancy them second half. But unfortunately, they showed inexperience. They got lured into a little bit of a push and shove there, Learman in particular. If Karamoko stays down, they get a free kick and Dia gets it booked. But in the end, they just showed that little bit of inexperience, or perhaps Lou City showing their experience to goad a younger team into doing something rash. And now with 10 players, it's a little bit more of a difficult task on hand here for Ryan Martin's side.
And a new face out there as well on the Loudoun side. Losing a center back in Giannis Learman. They want to get another one back out there. Robbie Dambra comes in. Hakeem Karamoko is the player's sacrifice. They pull off the striker to bring on the extra center back in this 1-1 game after that red card. Karamoko already left his imprint on this one, drawing the penalty to tie it at 1. There was a question of how far he could go anyway in this game as they build up his match fitness, so it seemed like it might have been around the hour mark that he's pulled off anyway, but that one a little bit earlier than they probably would have hoped because of the red card. They wanted to get an extra center back out there. Louisville left to right in the white, Loudoun right to left in the red. Underway now in half number 2. Happy to have you with us from Seger Field in Leesburg with the Manchester United great Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. 1-1 between two of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. Lou City in first, Loudoun in third. Substitution, Dan brought for Karamoko, brought to you by Segra. For a team that had 80% possession in the first half, Gary, how much drastically changes in that approach now that you're down a man?
You're going to try and possess it still. It's going to be a little bit more difficult, though, without that extra player. And it, as you can see, it's given Lou City the confidence to go and high press and change the way they're going to play. So let's see how this pans out. But certainly it's helped Lou City enormously because they were struggling in that first half.
Here's Gleedle trying to work past Skundrich, who muscles him off. It's Tosh who steps up. You might see the possession completely inverted from the first half. McFadden delivering near post Gleedle. But don't be surprised if that turns out to be the case. If it's something near 80-20 in Louisville's favor in this second half.
Well, I think Loudoun will still try and play ball, so I don't think it'll be as high as that. I think they'll keep possession nicely. It's just that Lou City now feel a little bit more confident pushing up. This high press, we didn't see this at all in the first half. Look at the numbers. Yeah, look at the numbers in attack in white.
And they do have a really strong bench to dip into tonight, being that they gave a couple of other players who are typically reserves a start in this one, including Mogel, who has the goal, Sam Gleedle, Josh Jones, players who don't typically start for Louisville but did tonight. They could bring the likes of Manny Perez, Ray Serrano, Jansen Wilson all off the bench, and Cam Lancaster as well. Only the one appearance for 7 minutes early in June against Tampa Bay after he came over from Lexington. Poacher like that in a game like this with a man up, never know, could be the night for him. Another long throw from Jones, this one cleared away by Velo.
It's important for Loudoun just to keep their cool. Lots of teams have gone on to win games with 10 players. It's not the end of the world. You just got to be a little bit sharper, a little bit more careful with your passing because you've got one player less who's available to you. But they've still got enough quality out there, and in particular the likes of Velo needs to get on the ball and try and dictate play a bit and get Abukura on the counter-attack.
Heavy collision there between teammates. It's interesting. Kyle Adams gets up and yells at the referee. Does he want his own teammate to pick up a yellow card? It was Lambert who cleared him out.
I just wonder how much more niggly this could get, because if Lou City do bite on anything, the referee's not going to be too slow to throw out cards at them. Having given a red card to Loudoun, you know how it goes. It's just human nature. So Lou City themselves need to be a little bit careful with their tackles, and in particular, Aidan McFadden is on. He's had the count of 5 from the referees. He knows he can't afford to do anything wrong here in the second half.
Amadou Dia, Sean Tosh, and Danny Cruz, the yellows for Lou City. Though 2 of those 3 are a little bit more important. They lose Danny Cruz, they don't go down a man. They go down a coach, but not down a man.
There's a couple of options on the bench, though, for Ryan Martin. Interesting options in that Riley Bidwell has got the most goals coming off the bench, and Ben Mines has got the most assists coming off the bench. So those are 2 very useful impact players as and when Ryan Martin needs them.
Even down a man, I don't know that Loudoun is going to look at the rest of this game and say we're happy with a tie either. This is a team that, especially with how they played at home, they'll want to try and find a way in this game, and they certainly have the attacking capabilities to do so. Abukura lets it out.
It's just tough for them. There's probably 2 teams in the league where you don't want to go down to 10 men. This team, Lou City and Charleston Battery, because they're just so clever, they're so experienced, they're going to hurt you possibly. But this is a situation. Lovely test for Ryan Martin's men.
Good ball from McCabe. Velo flashed in front of Dia. Did not get anything on that, though. Even the slightest redirect, it might be 2-1 to the home side.
That's a good little half chance. And it ties into the discussion we had at the first half. Lou City do not do well when they have most of the possession, because they open up gaps like this. They prefer numbers back. So you actually wonder if Loudoun having 10 men is actually going to work in Lou City's favor or not.
Just remember this week, the temperatures we've seen in the DC area, it's altered Loudoun's training schedule. On a night like this, thankfully a thunderstorm came through earlier and cooled things off from 103 with the heat index to 88. Not that 88 is much better on a humid night. But that also comes into play for a Loudoun side that's down a man. The extra work you have to do in covering that ground. Fatigue sets in. Tired legs, tired minds tend to lead to mistakes. McCabe. It's interesting, this team in possession, the way they set up. McCabe almost drops to that back line as an extra center back, and they push Tingy forward on one side, Awua on the other side. It sets up sort of as a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3, however you want to designate it, but once they get the possession going, McCabe drops in as that roll on the back line of Provider, and it allows those wingbacks to get further forward. Free kick on the way for Loudoun in a dangerous spot once again. Tosh is already on a yellow, and that was the point you made earlier. You have to make sure you don't give the referee a reason to level the playing field at 10v10. Tosh almost just did that.
And McFadden also had to be careful, and that is a stamp on the foot. You can see it very clearly. Not that he meant it, Sean Tosh. He's a little bit late. There's the stamp. If the referee sees that clearly, he might very well have given a second yellow. So Sean Tosh a touch lucky there.
That might be one of those two where if he wasn't on a yellow, it's maybe a first, but referees, right, wrong, or indifferent, are a little bit more willing to give you a longer leash when it comes to being a second yellow or not. And that's probably not something that Ryan Martin wants to hear at the moment. A yellow is a yellow is a yellow.
Yeah, he's probably having those same words with the assistant ref.
Abukora, low ball. It's Jones who got a foot on it. No contact there. That's a dive and maybe a yellow against Zach Ryan. Yeah, it seemed a little blatant that time. He's got a smile on his face as he walks away. He knows what he tried to do. Did not get away with it.
He didn't. Referee very sharp. Brings the card out straight away. And as a striker, you might say it's worth it because you just pick up a yellow. Maybe you get a penalty under other circumstances, but good refereeing. Not the best of sportsmanship, but I'm afraid these days it doesn't really count for anything. Your job is to win games, and sportsmanship, I'm afraid, has been lost from the game.
And there's two schools of thought there if you're Zach Ryan. Number one, you're in a league with no VAR, so if you can fool the referee, there's no reviewing it, and you count yourself lucky. But referees talk, and reports are written. So if you become a player who ends up getting a reputation for that sort of thing, you might not get that next 50-50 call to go your way. You build a reputation as a player who dives, so when you actually do get fouled, that next time, maybe the call isn't going your way.
Yeah, and also very difficult if you do move up a league and let's say you're playing MLS and there is VAR, you're going to have no chance of getting the penalty because clearly it's a dive and you'll always get a yellow card. So it's not a good habit to get into. But again, if he does it and gets a penalty and wins the game, then everyone will be happy with him. So I'm afraid to say professionalism trumps the situation.
Loudoun still continuing to find success on the ball, even though being down a man.
To give you an example of accurate passes first half, 281 for Loudoun, 41 for Loose City. Total and absolute control of the ball, domination from Loudoun first half.
Now a corner conceded by Kyle Adams. For a team down a man, have to make the most of set pieces. IBW Local 26 corner kick. Empower your future. Weren't so successful on the corners in the first half, Loudoun. What do they make of their first of the second half? Valo goes short. There with Abukora. Back around to Valo. Here's McCabe. Back where it started for Abukora. Now he delivers. All that for not much in the end for Loudoun, but Tingy keeps it alive. Skundrich looking through. Zach Ryan was waiting. In the end, it's Damian Lass. Davila. That's That's a player who can get on the ball more now with the man advantage for Lou City, and you want to see him on the ball almost every time up the field. Hardly called his name in the first half, but the one time he did, he put Louisville in a very good position. It was that ball he floated in that was just over Sam Gleedle in the end. There's Gleedle pressuring. Kept alive, McFadden deflected and out for a throw. And they go quickly here, or does Josh Jones come over again for a long throw? He's starting to trot that way.
I think the fact they got a goal first half from it, there's no reason why you shouldn't keep going. I mean, it really is a great asset, and we've seen it around the world. Various clubs are able to have a player who can do this. As we see McFadden try to get the ball across, and it's well blocked. It's almost like a corner as it gets thrown to the near post.
Jones launches it that way, bouncing all around and in. I don't know who it came off of. Louisville won't care. It's a 2-1 lead for the visitors for the second time tonight off of a long throw-in.
Josh Jones, take a bow. You've made the difference in this game for your side, no question about that. Certainly seemed to be an own goal. Nothing that the goalkeeper, Hugo Farouk, can do about it. Let's have a look as it comes in. There's a battle at the near post. It's flicked on. It hits Tommy McCabe on the head there. And goes straight in the back of the net. Nothing he can do. He hasn't got time to react. That fight at the near post is what does the damage. And, oh, that's tough on Loudoun United.
Seeing it from that last angle, that ball never touched a player in a white jersey. It was Skundrich who had the glance on, and then it deflects off McCabe and in. So the last player in white to touch that ball is Josh Jones launching it, and now your team is winning 2-1. A yellow and a red over to Ryan Martin. So he is set for an early shower. I think those yellow cards came back-to-back in sequence there. There was nothing over on our sheet that he picked one up at any point. He's waving to Danny Cruz there. You can read his lips. Danny Cruz, we know, had a yellow from the first half. I think these were both bang-bang right away for Ryan Martin here. Unclear what he's unhappy with after that goal.
I think it's just an overall unhappiness at the way the game's gone. It's conceding goals from 2 throw-ins. This is almost as bad as 2 set piece going the way he would have hoped it would have gone today. Looks like Danny Cruz is about to make some changes. We see the earlier warning, and he does get a warning, so it's frustration in the end from Ryan Martin.
At some point along the way, said a magic word or two, and was sent to the locker room. So now down a goal and down a man, Loudoun, from that earlier red card to Giannis Learman at the end of the first half. Louisville, meanwhile, set to make 3 changes. Awua gets in behind, goes for a goal, saved by Las. At the near post, out for a corner. Here come the changes for Lou City, or will they hold off until it's not a defensive set piece? Always tough to make changes on a defensive set piece.
We spoke about Awua first half. You mentioned how good he is in attack. He's not just a defender, he's a very, very good attacker as well. That shot maybe could have gone across the body of Damian Lass, might have had a better chance of scoring, but he's a really good and dangerous player in the box.
From the corner, punched away by Lass. Ray Serrano, Manny Perez, and Jake Morris all set to come on. Perez will replace Kyle Adams. Carlos Mogel replaced by Ray Serrano, and Jake Morris will replace Amadou Dia.
Number 13, Amadou Dia, and number 32, Kyle Adams. Now entering the match, number 3, Jake Morris. Number 7, Ray Serrano. And number 15, Manny Perez.
Interesting what this might do here for Lou City. All subs brought to you by Segra as we reach the hour mark. Jake Morris for Amadou Dia, that's like for like. Ray Serrano for Carlos Mogel, that's just about like for like, even though it's more attack-minded for Serrano. But Manny Perez for Kyle Adams, certainly not like for like. You're bringing off a wing back or winger in Perez for a center back in Kyle Adams in your 3-back set. So curious what they do to shuffle through this one now, Lou City.
The other curiosity is Sean Tosh is the one on a yellow. If you're going to take off a centre back, you take him off, unless, of course, there was an injury to Kyle Adams that we didn't know about.
McCabe own goal in the 57th minute off a long throw from Josh Jones. First half, Blue City scores through Carlos Mogel off a failed clearance off a long throw from Josh Jones. He's been the story tonight. Loudoun trying to get it back here, looking for Zach Ryan, but it's Josh Jones who heads it clear again. Cora. Something tells me that Josh Jones will be looked at a little bit more going forward for Danny Cruz, knowing what he could do on those long throws. Here he is defending Florian Velo, shielding it out over the line, and out for a goal kick.
That's a fantastic extra bit of ammunition to have, being able to bomb long throws into the near post. And certainly they've struggled this match, and he's helped them turn it around. Plus the red card, of course, that's Loudoun's own doing, but in a game in which things could have gone south for Lou City in that first half, he kept them in it at 1-1. He's got them ahead 2-1, and who knows, they could very well leave with all 3 points in a match that looked like it was going to be a massive uphill battle.
There's one that you don't always see on the graphic sheet, upper left. Loudoun down a man and a head coach. That's where things are right now as Abukora commits the foul. Ryan Martin was sent off moments ago. Keegan Tinney at the end of the first half. Frustration starting to set even for Abukora in a moment like this. We figured coming into the evening that there could be some moments like this of tension between these teams. We've seen each other now 4 times already this season. First time came back on March 22nd, then April 15th, then May 31st, now tonight. So once a month through these 4 months. We won't see each other again until the playoffs, if it comes to pass in that manner. That's a lot of times to see a team, 4 times in 4 months, especially in this league. You do the math, I mean, Louisville and Loudoun have played fewer than 20 games total in all competitions. I think I did that math quickly correctly, but about 20% of your games coming against one opponent. And not only just any opponent, an opponent that's right near you in the standings. There's a lot of animosity between these two teams, two of the upper tier teams in the Eastern Conference. It has spilled over at times in this one, but a gift here for Loudoun as Morris heads it out for a corner.
It's a tricky one. Morris was trying to play a header back, and it was very risky. Probably the best thing, it went out of play and didn't stay in play because it might have gone to the opposition, and now they've got to deal with the corner.
IBEW Local 26 corner, empower your future. Below drops it in, and a clear by Lambert.
To pick up on your point, one of the reasons why this has become a bit niggly is Loudoun are now a threat. And in the first half, we're really controlling the game, and I wouldn't say embarrassing Lou City, but they were really battling to get the ball. 20% possession gives you an idea of how much they were battling. So when you're the #1 side or one of the top 2 sides, your ego gets a bit of a knock, your professionalism takes a knock, and you want to get stuck in there and win this game however you can. And they've managed to do it, Lou City, which is why there's such a good side, as even when they're facing an uphill battle, they still found a way to dominate this match, and that's where they are right now. 2-1 up, a man up, and a coach up.
And beyond that, situationally, a team in Lou City that have not lost back-to-back games since July of 2023. Coming off that loss against North Carolina, and they lost to Loudoun the last time these teams met 3.5 weeks ago. So off of a loss, lost to Loudoun last time. That motivation and drive is there for this Lou City side here tonight. And they've just done those little extra things to put them over the edge. Victor Lonchuk is the acting head coach. We've seen him assume that role already this season when Loudoun went to Vegas, a game that Ryan Martin missed for the birth of his son. Victor Lonchuk slides his seat over and acts as the head coach the rest of tonight. Perez can only flick it to Abukora. That could be dangerous. Abukora, Awua. That'll go over everything, out for a goal kick.
With that in mind, I just wonder when it will be that Loudoun will bring some fresh legs on. The likes of Ben Mines, Moses Nyman, Riley Bidwa, as we see this one just bend away. These are 3 players who could liven things up here for Loudoun at some stage.
Already forced to bring off one of those players that had been livening things up. And Akeem Karamoko, who was sacrificed at halftime for an extra center back. Robbie Dambrot came in as a result of Giannis Learman's first half red card. While Loudoun won the last meeting between these teams on May 31st, prior to that, all-time series before May 31st, Louisville had won 9 consecutive games against Loudoun. These teams have never tied before. It was 9 straight Loose City wins before that match on May 31st. Louisville looking to get back on top and back in control of this series between these two sides. Scored in 2 unconventional ways tonight. The hallmark of a good team, as you touched on earlier, Gary, just finding different ways to win. On a night like this for Loose City, short week on the road in this heat, in this weather, missing a few key players due to injury, rotating 5 guys in your starting 11, finding a way so far.
This match is not over, though. I think Loudoun are going to keep coming at them. My question for Loose City is, can you grab a third? While Loudoun are a little bit stretched and trying to push, are they leaving gaps at the back? And can you pounce on those opportunities, stick a third one in and potentially kill this match? Because if you don't, it's going to be a very tough last 10 minutes as Loudoun throw everything at Loose City.
Free kick going Loose City's way. Up 2 changes now on the Loudoun side. It'll be 2 of the players you mentioned coming on, Gary. Riley Bedouin, Ben Mines. Scunrich and Keegan Tingy coming off. That shifts the balance of the lineup here again for Loudoun. All subs brought to you by Segra. They brought off a striker to bring on an extra center back in Robbie Dambrot. Now they bring off a defensive midfielder to get that extra striker back out there in Riley Bedouin. Of course, a change in the calculus since then as they've gone down a goal. That's the reason for it. Going back to a more offensive look, even though down a man. And that could open them up for a Louisville third. Goodrum trying to get around Dambrot, brought down, yellow coming, free kick on the way.
This is where Loose City can really hurt Loudoun in transition when Loudoun have thrown numbers forward and they're already a man down. Philip Goodrum trying to get in the box, just times it absolutely perfectly, and Robbie Dambrot late there with the body, no question about that, being both a free kick and a yellow card for a professional block.
Serrano and Davila standing over it. I think from here, the left foot of Davila would be more up for the task, but Serrano certainly has this in his skill set as well. Seen it before. In the wall.
The benefit of Davila hitting is it bends away from goalkeeper Hugo Farou into this near post. It's a bit more difficult for the keeper.
Taylor Davila does just that, punched away by Farou. Kept it too close to the keeper, Davila. Good secure punch away from Farou, who had it covered, and now out for a goal kick.
Yeah, decent save from the goalkeeper. Nice strike of the ball as well, bending away, gets there in time. Doesn't even think of holding on to it, just pushes it away from danger.
He read that so well, Farou. You can see on that replay, he took his first step to his left before Davila even struck that ball. You could get caught cheating that way if the shot would have gone to the far post instead. But he had it well scouted and had it covered. Been down a man and down their head coach Ryan Martin due to red cards. Down a goal as well ever since the 57th minute. Looking through for Bedouin. As Jones pokes it away. Abukora with it. He's floated back over to the right side now, giving him some more freedom. Presenting a different look here.
Mentioned Riley Bedouin's name just for that stat again. He's scored more goals off the bench, and Ben Mines has more assists off the bench than anybody else in the league. So if you ever need 2 impact players, it certainly sounds like Loudoun have them there. And to keep an eye on Riley Bedouin, will the Blue City defense.
Awua. Just along by Loudoun. Got a cross for McCabe. McCabe was the victim of the own goal in the 57th minute. Nothing he could do about it. Abukora. If there's anybody capable of producing a leveling moment, it's Abukora. Always seems to be the guy to bring something out of nothing for Loudoun. McCabe pressuring, feeds it through, give and go, but Dwak couldn't get there and cleared. Now Goodrum racing ahead. Goodrum, there's Faroux all the way off his line. Brave goalkeeping, timed it perfectly and had to.
Wow, he's come a long way. I'm not so sure he needs to come that far, because if he doesn't get it right, it's probably a red card, or with that, Philip Goodrum goes round and scores in an empty net. So risky goalkeeping.
Back post from Awua. Ryan keeping it alive. I suppose the line between brave and foolish goalkeeping is very thin. We'll call that one brave. Yeah. Fed back through for Zach Ryan. Abukora wants it. Ryan forced wider, goes for goal. Las punches away. And cleared further out for a throw.
Let's have a look at this again. I mean, he's a long way. He's nearly at the halfway line, and he lunges in as well. So it's so easy to mistime that, and if you mistime that, it's almost a certain red card. So I think it's not a risk worth taking, but he took it, he got away with it, so fair enough.
I don't know, Gary. If it pays off, it's a risk worth taking, if you ask me.
That's not how you work risk, but anyway. You work risk before it happens, not after it happens. Little shot here coming from Zach Ryan, and Damien Lass just pushing it away. Difficult conditions for a keeper on turf, so I don't think he was comfortable holding on to it there. Damien Lass just decided to push it away from danger.
It's something that you do see from visiting goalkeepers often here at Seger Field. If it's anything skipping on the ground, they just resort to the basics, get it out, don't try to do anything overcomplicated with it. Just be safe. Although through the years that has sometimes been a detriment, because they go for a moment like that where they're just trying to parry it away, but there's somebody there to pounce back on it. With Loudoun's following the shot.
Problem is, if you don't train on a turf pitch, it's very difficult to read it.
Let's move to the end line. Comes out to McCabe on the volley. Able to work it through Davila. Needle looking long. Goodrum on the run. Balance has shifted back in Loudoun's favor ever since they went down 2-1. Down a man still, yes, but they're the aggressors after falling behind. Abukora slipped back through from Bidois, but it was glued to his foot. Toe shielding, brought down from behind by Bidois. Possession actually 75-25 in Loudoun's favor in this second half, despite being down a man. Now Loose City will make another change. Jansen Wilson will enter the match.
Louisville City FC substitution in the 76th minute.
Wilson coming on for
number 23, Sam Gleedle.
They're getting a little bit slow up front, Lou City. I was just looking at that there and thinking, when they try and transition, Philip Goodham's not the quickest. I mean, he's not slow, but he's not a speed merchant, and neither is Sam Gleedle. So you haven't got that thread of pace behind the defense of Loudoun United, and maybe fresh legs of Jansen Wilson might give Loudoun United a few more problems there when they counter-attack.
A couple of changes on the other side as well for Loudoun as we're into this hydration break here in this second half. Moses Nyman will be entering the match momentarily. Here's a look at how we got here, some of the goals going back to the first half for Mogel.
Yeah, the throw in, not clear. Goalkeeper comes out, can only tip it on. Carlos Mogel says thank you very much. Heads into an empty net. All came from a long throw of Josh Jones. Then it was another set piece, this time a penalty, tucked away by Abdelatif Abukora with a fantastic finish there after Karamoko won the penalty. And then a long throw in, flicked on, hits Tommy McCabe. Unfortunately, in the header goes in. Two throw-ins from big Josh Jones. Ends up with 2 goals for Lou City.
Exactly how you draw it up, but so long as it ends up going in, that's all that matters in the end.
Come see what's trending on Karamo. He has deleted 1,938 texts in the last 30 days. See what's taking over everybody's feed all season on Karamo.
Weekdays at 3 on DCW 50.
Final quarter of an hour remaining here at Segra Field. Glad to have you with us this evening. ESPN Plus alongside Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. 2-1 lead for Lou City. Fourth and final time these teams will meet this year unless it happens again in the playoffs. Loudoun down to 10 men, also down their head coach due to red cards. A couple of changes for you during that hydration break. With McCabe and Awua coming off for Nyman and Jacob Erlinson. All subs brought to you by Segra. All 5 of their subs now Loudoun. Lou City have 1 remaining. Fed in by Serrano and cleared. Tosh. Serrano. Played through, chance here for Wilson! Off the bench, Jansen Wilson paying dividends! 3-1 Lou City.
Perfect substitution, came on at the right time. Fresh legs was exactly what they needed in attack, Lou City. You can see the frustrations there from goalkeeper Hugo Farouk. They've been trying to deal with this one man down, and for one occasion here they get a little bit of a gap, a little bit of an opportunity to tuck this one away, Lou City, and expose that defense of Loudoun United, which has been really tight throughout this match. Punished for having that extra player, having the player less rather. Good finish, Lou City. What can you say? They've taken so much pressure and come back and look like they're cruising now at 3-1 ahead.
Jansen Wilson, a player we had a really good conversation about with Danny Cruz this week. I posed the question, who's a player who you feel the second half of the season could give you more? And I didn't mean that in the sense of throwing a player under the bus for Danny Cruz, but somebody who you've seen flashes from, who you know down the stretch could pay dividends and give the group more. Without hesitation, pointed directly to Jansen Wilson, a player who last year comes in as a rookie, as a first-year pro, who had almost no expectations, but really came in, hit the ground running, and was a big, important piece for Lou City. Off-season comes around, he gets a new contract, and there's more eyes on him, and he's felt that it's weighed on Jansen Wilson so far this year, to the point where he just hasn't been himself. He hasn't looked like the player they got last year, who scored 9 goals in 33 appearances, just had 1 goal so far this season. I don't know if Danny Cruz turned our conversation into another conversation with Jansen Wilson, but it pays an early dividend here, going up 3-1 with his 2nd goal of the season.
I think you have to give Danny credit as well for making the change at the right time to bring those fresh legs on just when they needed them. And it's a perfect situation for Lou City. All the time it's a 1-goal gap, you're vulnerable, but now they can relax a little bit more, knock the ball around, feel that they have that cushion and the extra player. They should be safe from here.
Took a deflection off of Perez's cross and out for a corner. And just in case Loudoun needed anything else, there was a yellow card to Victor Lonchuk, the acting head coach now, in the aftermath. So down a head coach, a yellow away from being down their lead assistant coach, down a man, down 2 goals. I think they're longing for that final whistle 10 minutes from now.
Held so much promise up until just before half-time and the red card, and it really has gone a bit sour for Loudoun United, but lots of lessons to be learned from this, and they were so impressive in that first 45 minutes that I think there's still a lot to come from this team this season.
From the corner for Louisville. They'll get to do it again on the opposite side, though, of the field. A shame, really, for Loudoun. To your point, that red card changing everything. They were the dominant of the 2 sides in the first half. 80-20, the possession tilted in their favor. Louisville really had no foothold in the game. And even so, once we began the second half, Loudoun still found some success on the ball. You have an awkward bounce on a long throw-in that leads to an own goal. Then you go behind 2-1, wound down a man, and then from there, just continue to trend downward. Now down 2 goals. Whipped in again, headed clear by Dambrot. These two teams will turn their attention back to Jägermeister Cup this weekend. Long run for Bedois, battling Tosh. Loudoun, Louisville in the same group in Jägermeister Cup. Loudoun, a perfect 6 points from 2 matches so far. New City on 3 points. They could be mathematically eliminated as soon as this weekend. Loudoun will host the Charlotte Independents, and New City will host North Carolina. They just lost to in the regular season this past Friday night.
It's another tough match for New City. They'll want some revenge for that loss, but North Carolina playing really well at the moment. So but for all these teams, as we've said, every game is a battle. Everyone is difficult. The USL now is of such a parity that it's a real slog from beginning to end, because there's no easy, weeks. There's no easy teams. There's lots of traveling. Danny Cruz saying to us that yes, they've had some games at home, but before that they had a brutal travel spell, took them out west as well. And this happens to every team. They've all got to deal with it. So there'll be some tired legs and tired brains by the end of the season.
Tired legs, certainly the theme here right now in this hot weather. Down a man for Loudoun. Here go Louisville again. Perez taking it toward the corner. Perez unable to keep it in play. Out for a goal kick. You and I were starting to have that conversation just amongst ourselves off the air coming into the night. Of course, you've done away with the MLS affiliate, the two sides in this league. Loudoun used to be one of those, but fully independent now, and a very strong team, top 3 in the Eastern Conference. Same thing on the other side in the Western Conference for Vegas. But beyond not having any of those teams, there's just no doormats anymore. Miami FC were one of those last year. That has significantly changed. They're in a playoff position. The two teams who were in last place in their respective conferences recently, Hartford and Lexington, they've turned things around. Lexington's won a couple games in a row. Hartford's gone toe-to-toe with some good teams and just beat Loudoun. There's no such thing as an easy out from 1 through 12 in either conference.
Well, bottom of the East is Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Now, yeah.
And I still think they're a good team, and I still think they can make the playoffs if they can just sort 1 or 2 things out. So that's the parity, both in the East and West, and why I think it's more strenuous now than ever before in the USL for coaches, for players. There's no let-up, there's no easy games. It's a constant battle, and I mean, it's great for spectators.
Abakora looking through, cleared by Jones. Far enough, blasted back in, and on the way to rest in Virginia. At this point, 85th minute, Cole Turner as a center back. Your eyes open very wide when a ball slowly rolls out to you in that manner.
Just thinking, why not? Let's just have a crack.
Then he reminds everybody that he's a center back.
Yeah. Frustrating day at the office for Loudoun, for everyone involved, coaching staff, players, those that got sent off, those that got unnecessary yellows. It just is a big learning. I'm pretty sure Ryan Martin will sit down with everyone and say, hey, there's a lot to learn. He'll probably hold his hand up himself and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't have overreacted. I could have learned something. But they're up against a very good side, and Danny Cruz's side didn't overreact. He didn't get sent off the coach even after a yellow. Maybe they just handled the pressure a little bit better, but that's because they're used to it. They've got these battles all the time. Loudoun they're getting used to being a very good team. And with that comes a lot of added pressures that they're going to have to wrap their heads around.
This is the exact response Louisville were looking for after their first regular season loss last week against North Carolina. They've lost in other competitions, eliminated in an Open Cup, and lost here on this field against Loudoun in Jägermeister Cup the last time these teams met at the end of May. But tonight, righting both of those wrongs, not letting it become a losing streak after the loss a few days ago to North Carolina, and responding after their loss to Loudoun the last time these teams met. Question at this point, just what will be the final score, it appears, with 4 minutes to go. New City up 2 goals, up a man.
There's a certain mantra that the great coaches have, and my former coach Alex Ferguson said, never ever do we allow a second consecutive defeat. He hated it. He hated losing, but the possibility of a second back-to-back defeat, he just made sure the players would die on the field rather than lose, or rather than go in the locker room with him after losing the second match. He'd rather die on the pitch, I think.
Well, he's had to avert his eyes lately then from Manchester United.
Don't go there.
Abukora feeds it through for Bidwa. There's some frustrations from Abukora today as well. It's been a couple of those moments where you could tell Louisville has put an extra, whether midfielder or defender, shaded over toward him. He's had a lot of 1v2s and it hasn't quite worked out. See Cameron Lancaster here for a brief cameo at the tail end, replacing Philip Goodrum. Brought back this way from Lexington in early June, working back his fitness, building back up to a level where they can consistently get some good run out of him. Certainly worse players to bring off the bench when you need a goal or to defend. In a situation like this, really good in the air defensively. Second leading goal scorer all time in USL Championship. Pardon me, one away from Nico Brett for second all time.
Legendary player, no question about that. And for very limited minutes, I'm sure he can do a job. And they need to rest the likes of Philip Goodrum because they're going to need him throughout the rest of the season. So, ideal player to bring on. Hopefully he gets to the point where he can sort of play 15, 20 minutes, not just 5 minutes, because Philip Goodrum does and will need plenty of rest if you're going to use him throughout the season.
There's the foul there, Cam Lancaster.
This is his third spell now with the club. Just wonder how many fans of Lou City thought they'd ever see him back after he left the second time.
I think after the second time, when he then also joined the USL League One team, it maybe gave the impression that he was certainly on the back nine of his career and dropping down a level to League One. But for a Lexington team that then from there came into USL Championship, back to that level, now back with Louisville. Serrano deflected for Lancaster, save made by Farouk. Offside flag did come up, but there's an illustration.
Worth continues to impress with his added maturity this season.
Minute here in Leesburg. Well, we were so caught up in chatter about a losing streak for Louisville. It's been so rare. They haven't lost back-to-back regular season games since July of 2023. They're 24-9-3 after a loss under Danny Cruz. But this is going to be a losing streak now for Loudoun. On the other side of that, after the loss against Hartford last Friday night. So 2 straight regular season losses for Loudoun.
And in both of those, they've conceded 3 goals. But to be fair, this match, it's been a tough one. I thought they played some really good soccer, especially in the first half. One at Hartford, they just got ripped to pieces. That's an anomaly. And I think Ryan Martin will just be happy that they've played a lot better than they played in that match, even though he'll be so frustrated with the result. I think he felt that his team were getting stronger and stronger every time they played Lou City.
4 minutes of stoppage time brought to you by Novec. Novec's energy-saving tips are a real game changer. Maybe another for Louisville. It is a well-worked counterattack. Lou City make it 4. It's Ray Serrano ending things here in Leesburg.
Good finish from Ray Serrano, one of the players of the season for Lou City. He has really contributed so much in terms of being in front of a goal. This is his 6th goal of the season, and he just matured to the point where as soon as he gets it, you think this is going to be a goal. He puts power behind it, he finds the right direction. Maybe last season this hits the goalkeeper, he doesn't finish it off. Now he's burying these chances, and he's buried Loudoun United in the process.
See what it means to Serrano, and the extra at the end of that might be something that Loudoun remembers if these 2 teams meet again in the playoffs, that throat-slash celebration. It's his 6th goal of the season. Not all instances where you concede this many goals, though, created equally, to the point you were making before that opportunity there for Lou City. Last game against Hartford, Loudoun give up 3 goals, but the XG was 6.4 for that Hartford side. The XG tonight for Lou City, even though they've scored 4, is sub 1. It's .96. Think of the manner in which these goals have come in. Twice off long throws, 1 an own goal. So it's .96 the XG. On a night where they give up 4, so in some regards, Loudoun unlucky. Well, the red card just foolish before halftime from Giannis Learman. Not quite the dreadful performance that it was last week against Hartford. But still, you look at the scoreboard, you look at the score sheet in a couple of weeks' time, reflecting back on this game, you see 4-1. 4-1 is still 4-1.
Yeah, well, certainly the XG, the expected goals for Loudoun, is higher than Lou City, so 1.262, 1.26 compared with 0.96. Possessions nearly 77 to 23%. I mean, there's a lot of data points they can look at and say they're good, but it's just the efficiency and clinical nature of Lou City. And we said when they were 2-1, they need to get a third, kill the game off. That's exactly what they did, professionally.
Ruthless.
That's a great word for them, ruthless as well. And something again that Ryan Martin will say to his players, we need to be and to learn to be as good and as ruthless as Lou City. We've learned a lesson. Yes, it's painful, but they're still sitting third in the table, which I think is still a fantastic achievement.
In Charleston, it's another big 3 points for Lou City. Charleston 3 points back, though, with a game in hand should they hold serve. Tiebreaker, remember, if it just comes down to those 2 teams, first it's head-to-head. Lou City won in the opening weekend of the season, 2-1 over Charleston. So depending on how things go when those teams meet again, all Lou City need to do is attain a draw in that game to clinch that tiebreaker, which could loom large down the line. For Loudoun, they started the night in 3rd, they'll end the night in 3rd. 2 points clear of North Carolina, sitting in 4th with their recent surge off the standings. So North Carolina have a game in hand on Loudoun.
Just thinking of lessons learned, maybe the biggest lesson is for Giannis Learman, who got sent off. That changed the game, and
everything.
He didn't need to respond to Kyle Adams giving him a little bit of tug, and if he did want to respond, he could have just glared at him or said a few words, but to go and move your head as if you're about to headbutt him, that was a bad mistake.
It changed everything in that moment. From that point on, Lou City took control. They take it 4-1 here on the road against Loudoun United.
And Josh Jones with 2 long throws that led to 2 goals. Now the other goals maybe overshadow his involvement, but Josh Jones making a massive impact for Lou City. Professionalism from the boys in purple, lessons to be learned from a team in red who were dominant in the first half but come away with a bit of a hiding.
Perhaps could have been more as well. A couple of big saves in this one for Hugo Ferrou. We'll take a look at the save of the match presented by Seger. It was actually the one where he came all the way out to midfield to prevent Philip Goodrum from coming in alone.
His timing absolutely perfect. If it wasn't, he was in trouble. But that's a sweeper keeper. Came out there, won that ball and stopped Goodrum from getting through one-on-one against Ferrou.
At the time, it was still 2-1. Loudoun still clinched shortly there over Loudoun United.
Super serving the DMV means covering the entire DMV.
Whether with a regional approach, so you know what's moving in and where the action will be.
And most importantly, so you know when it's getting serious. DMV First Warn Days on DC News Now means you need to be weather aware.
So you can prepare, plan, and keep your family safe.
DC News Now, super serving the entire DMV. Get your forecast at dcnewsnow.com.
Ryan Martin's resurfaced here after he was sent off earlier in this one. Comes back out to greet his opposing head coach, Danny Cruz. After this one, those two good friends behind the scenes, worked together through the years along the way. But it's Danny.
With Lou City getting the extra goals, the third and the fourth, to give them the cushion that now gives them a 3-point cushion at the top of the table.
It's going to be a race between those two the rest of the way. Lou City and Charleston. What this does also is it keeps Loudoun at arm's length beyond those two teams. Loudoun still sitting in third, but now some teams behind Loudoun starting to creep a bit closer as well. Well, Mother Nature had a very good plan for you this evening. Tampa Bay and Indy are also playing. You can catch that on ESPN2. They were supposed to have started at 7. Weather delayed it, so you can flip over there and catch that one in its entirety on ESPN2. I'll do it for us here from Leesburg. For the crew that makes this possible, the broadcast partner Gary Bailey, I'm Joe Malva saying so long for now. Lou City take it 4-1 over Loudoun United, now in sole possession. The boys in purple, the first place in the Eastern Conference. Good night, everybody.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.